Hello, everyone, and welcome to our release webinar. My name is John Asan. I'm the technical leader at Versasec. Today, we're going to be focusing on the new features introduced to you in our latest release, which is vSEC CMS version 6.12. So let's get started. All right, so our main focus of this release has been the FIDO2 Enterprise. So in release 6.12, we added FIDO2 management capabilities outside of the FIDO2 Alliance standards. We have on the left side some proprietary features, and on the right side, we have these CTAP 2.1 features. To start with the CTAP 2.1, you can retrieve the relay, retrieve and verify the relaying parties that have been issued on that device. And you can list all those credentials and keys that have been issued by that specific relaying party. You can also delete the FIDO2 credentials, which removes specific credentials from the device without the need for a complete reset. So if you have one set of credentials issued from that one, let's say, relaying party that you'd like to remove, you can do so with that feature. Update FIDO2 credentials. You can update the user information of a specific credential from a device to store in vSEC CMS if there's any changes there. Setting the minimum pin length. Set allowed relay party ID list to get minimum pin length information. This one sets a list of relaying parties allowed to ask the device for the minimum pin length. You also have the force change pin option and enforcing user verification. So you want to ensure that FIDO2 credentials are protected by enforcing and requiring a PIN or fingerprint where the device supports it for user verification. So those are the standard 2.1 features we implemented in our latest release. Now, important on the proprietary features, we've added the much awaited for, I think, pin unblock function. Now you can unblock the pin instantly to restore the device functionality without needing to reset FIDO device, which is very nice. So all existing device credentials remain intact, and you don't need to re-register to all those relaying parties, IDPs, etc. that you had. Of course, since the reset function, as you may know, deletes all the credentials. It may be very challenging if you have many different IDPs, sites set up and relaying parties set up there. Next is the allow list. You control where the FIDO devices can be used by defining an allow list. So you could allow just only specific IDs or relaying parties IDs, IDPs that could be used. Preventing, of course, with the importance of what we discussed about pin unblock and keeping those credentials intact and safe, we have the device reset block, which prevents users from resetting their devices. So you don't want potentially a user or someone else to go and reset that through Windows or other tools. And all this is made possible for these FIDO credentials to do on behalf of users is by managing it through the vSEC CMS management key. And so to see what that looks like, and at least in the form of screenshots here, on the left side, you can see the FIDO2 reset by user blocked for that interface. So now I won't be able to go in and reset that through other tools. Here's the checkbox for always require user verification. This, by the way, is in vSEC CMS. For those more familiar, vSEC CMS, what we call card templates. You have a FIDO2 enterprise template where you can configure this. And then the relaying party ID allow list. You need the full domain there, like Microsoft.com, Google.com, whichever of those relaying party IDs are allowed can be added there. You have your minimum pin length checkbox and setting there, and then the minimum pin length relaying party ID list, which adds the relaying party that will be allowed to ask for that minimum pin length. On the right side is our vSEC CMS user, which is a user self-service client application, and showing pin unblock, potential FIDO2 pin unblock. Here you'll also get an authentication to verify before the user is able to perform that tasks. And we have different levels of authentication that you could set in CMS for that. So that's how it typically looks like. So our longstanding partnership and more recent collaboration with Microsoft brought you the FIDO2 management for Entra ID, and that came in our previous release 6.11. So it makes it possible here for you to manage centrally or via self-service your FIDO2 devices for your users in Entra ID. We can now manage FIDO2 over NFC. Important for those customers who want to use the credentials, want to use and manage credentials that are FIDO2 contactless only. Previously, we could only manage the credentials if you'd physically that were plugged in via chip or various USB interfaces. So this is a good feature here. New credentials. Yeah, so added credentials to our long list of supported credentials. That's the TELUS SafeNet eToken Fusion NFC PIV. This is the first TELUS device with the enterprise features. It also contains the new PIV version 4.0. However, we have not added the features for the PIV 4.0 yet in CMS, so that should be coming as well sometime in the near future. This in the CMS still works though, but it's being treated as a PIV 3.0 device. Then we have the TELUS SafeNet eToken Fusion FIPS version. This one does not have the enterprise features for FIDO. All the Fusion devices from TELUS can contain PKI or PIV and FIDO applets. TELUS SafeNet ID Core 3121 FIDO. This is a FIDO2 smart card with contactless NFC interface only. It's FIDO2, of course, and physical access. New partner from Token 2. So that's the Token 2 PIN plus FIDO2 security key series. This is a series, so it can contain different variations of these tokens. The FIDO2 device currently is only supported and managed through the NFC in vSEC CMS. We are also working on managing this token to the USB interface as well. New supported HSM from Fortanix FX2200 for those of you using this HSM and looking to store the vSEC CMS master key on the HSM. AD group check. We have a new way to check for AD group membership. It's a permission check for the lifecycle tasks. So in the previous previous setting on this, we can check that the operator, we would check that the operator and the user belong to the same group. And this is how this would work. They would have to be in that same group. Now, they can be in different groups. They still need to be matching, but they can be in different groups. As an example here, you have the operator in group A and the user in group B. Enhancement in PIN management, PIN expiration notification. When a PIN expiry is overdue, we can keep notifying about it. A small improvement there, or enhancement. This is a good one, vSEC CMS user multi-configuration. I think a lot of people will find this very valuable, myself included. So previously on vSEC CMS self-service application, those that use the self-service application, if you were to use different devices that required different level of credential access, for example, one device requires mini driver, and let's say a PIV device typically is native access, you would have to go back and reconfigure the self-service client to the level of access of the token or credential that you're using. So in this feature, we introduced where you can set a system-wide configuration. So I can now use PIV and mini driver device on the same machine. Great for customer side. You have potentially users that may have a variety or two different kinds of tokens that they use and do have do pin unblock and certificate renewal and other functions. And also great for the techs out there testing all this, where you typically use and test with a lot of different credentials. Okay. Other noteworthy mentions. We've expanded to enhance our integration with Entra Identity as a Service, IDP for FIDO2, so that FIDO2 security device issuances and reissuances for existing users is now also supported. Next one there is the object SID. A new configuration option has been added to force user authentication. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to the object SID. So we support for the object SID attribute has been added for integration with key factor EGBCA. This relates to the strong mapping request from Microsoft to allow for certificate-based authentication. So you can go ahead, and those of you using key factor EGBCA, go ahead and set that object SID attribute. Now we have the new configuration option, which is to force user authentication for all account roles when performing self-service issuance that contain multi-role AD accounts, basically. So you could have a normal user, you can have potentially multiple admins, or you could have users with multi-roles, or multiple certificates. And previously, when you were performing the self-service issuance, we would only ask for the primary one to authenticate. Now you can enforce for the user authentication for all account roles when performing the self-service issuance. When a new permission is added, the next one there, it will also now be available on the existing roles and come up as unassigned. So the admin or operator would go in and add this permission accordingly, add this role permission accordingly once that's done. And that's what we have for this webinar. Thank you very much, and have a good day.